Welcome to PM Ready, your guide to becoming PMP certified. This is the lesson on executing, monitoring, and controlling resources. Part 2. The next resource management process in the executing process group is develop team, which is the process to improve the competencies, interaction, and environment of your team. Having the right team is a critical success factor to your project. And as the project manager, developing the team is one of your primary responsibilities. You'll need to work to establish effective communication within the team. Use team building techniques. Help team members to develop trust in one another. Manage the inevitable conflicts that come up. And use best practices in applying and teaching collaboration, especially when it comes to problem solving and decision making. To manage risk as well as to support individual team member development, you want to identify specific opportunities for cross-training so that people can fill in for each other as needed. And you should actively set up mentoring relationships and other training to develop the skills of your team members. You'll need to not only set the example, but proactively identify and take steps to build your team's abilities in these areas, not only for individual team members, but for the team as a whole as well. A popular model for understanding and managing the phases that teams naturally go through is the Tuckman Ladder, which includes the phases forming, storming, norming, and performing. Later, Tuckman also added the adjourning phase at the end. The forming phase is what happens when you're first organizing the team, making role assignments and defining the responsibilities of all of the team members. Storming is that phase in which people are figuring out how to work with one another, and it's characterized by people stepping on each other's toes a bit, and there being some disagreements about who should do what and how they should do it, and overall getting used to one another's personalities and styles of work. The norming phase is when people are making adjustments to get along with each other and they're really starting to work together better. The performing phase is when the team is really starting to be productive and working together well as a team. The adjourning phase is when the work is completed and the team is now disbanding and team members are moving on to other projects or responsibilities. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a foundational theory of motivation based on the idea that there are certain basic needs that need to be satisfied before someone can move to higher levels of motivation. These levels are typically represented as a triangle or pyramid with 5 levels. Starting at the bottom are the physiological needs. These are the most basic needs that need to be satisfied first, including basic necessities such as food, water, shelter, and sleep. Once these are satisfied, people are then free to focus on safety, and this includes not only physical safety, but all kinds of safety, such as financial security, health, and even emotional security. Once these needs have been met, people then tend to focus on friendships, relationships, belonging, family, and love. Once people feel socially secure, they then become more motivated by self-esteem and those things that bring self-respect. Finally, at the top, when all of these other levels of needs have been met, people seek self-actualization, becoming all you can be, using talents, abilities, and interests to pursue excellence. This is a theory that isn't absolute, but it's a good model for understanding that you need to make sure that your team members' basic needs are met before you'll be able to effectively motivate them to achieve excellence and develop a higher performing team. And as Abraham Maslow said, you either step forward into growth or step back into safety. Another pair of models of motivation is Theory X and Theory Y, developed by Douglas McGregor. Theory X is the perspective that people are not self-motivated, but that they naturally tend to avoid work and responsibility. They have to be pushed or encouraged. Theory X managers feel that they need to watch people closely, and they set up systems of rewards and punishments in order to get people to do the right thing. Theory X approaches to management result in more of an us versus them relationship between team members and management. Theory Y is the perspective that people are self-motivated, that they enjoy work and pursue self-improvement and excellence without having to be pushed. Theory Y managers see people as the organization's most valuable asset, and that they need to create the environment that will allow people to be open, creative, and productive. Theory Y approaches to management result in more of a collaborative relationship between team members and management. The figure you see here is designed to help you remember which is which. The person with arms folded in an X is shown with a closed posture, like someone who isn't motivated. The person with arms up in a Y shape shows an open, excited posture. If you combine Theory X and Theory Y with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you can see how Theory X might work better for some people in some circumstances, while Theory Y would work better for other people and other circumstances. Then there's Theory Z, which actually has two rather different versions. One is the theory that if you provide employees with a job for life, and also make sure that their needs are met both on the job and off the job, that you'll have satisfied the lower levels of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, creating a high level of employee loyalty to the company, and freeing them up to be dedicated, creative, and productive employees. The other version of Theory Z comes from Abraham Maslow himself, which he says transcends the original hierarchy of needs. It allows for those cases in which some people progress to higher levels of the pyramid without having satisfied the lower levels first, and that some people progress up to these to a point and then stop without ever really reaching the top. The focus with this version of the theory is on cultivating people's creativity and insights, a sense of meaning and purpose in the work, and a desire for moral excellence, regardless of the level they're at in the original hierarchy. And then we have Hertzberg's two-factor theory, or motivation hygiene theory. This is based on two major categories. One is motivators, which provide job satisfaction, and the other is hygiene factors, which can result in job dissatisfaction. Now, there's an important distinction here that a lack of job satisfaction is not the same thing as job dissatisfaction, and vice versa. Motivators that provide job satisfaction are things like challenging work, recognition, responsibility, opportunity, involvement, a feeling of importance, being able to achieve, and personal growth. However, hygiene factors must be met in order to avoid job dissatisfaction. So it doesn't matter how satisfying the motivators are, you've got to make sure that the hygiene factors are taken care of in order to prevent job dissatisfaction. These include making sure you provide job security, a good salary, good benefits and work conditions, and that company policies don't get in the way, that supervision and relationships with your boss or work conditions and relationships with your peers, that none of these things cause dissatisfaction with the job, and that the incentives or threats of punishment are not getting in the way. Another important skill in developing the team is emotional intelligence, which is about recognizing your own emotions and the emotions of others, being able to discern between different feelings and being able to identify and label them appropriately, and using information to guide your thinking and behavior, and learning how to manage and adjust your emotions and adapting them to different environments and goals. And then there's the importance of focusing on the team as a whole and not so much on just the individuals alone. As Jeff Sutherland put it, change team performance. That has much more impact, by several orders of magnitude, than individual performance. Jeff Sutherland was one of the co-creators of Scrum, and he found that by focusing on improving the performance of the team as a whole, he was able to achieve much higher levels of productivity. High-performing teams are characteristically transcendent in that they have this extraordinary sense of purpose. They have autonomy, being self-organizing and self-managing. And high-performing teams are typically cross-functional. The inputs to the developed team process start with the resource management plan, of course, because this is where all the rules and guidelines are for how you're going to manage resources, including how you're going to develop the team. Next is the team charter, which you should have developed in cooperation and collaboration with your team members to come up with all of the team's rules for how the team itself will operate, how you'll resolve conflicts, decide on things, including voting rules, and all of that. Then you have your project team assignments that will list who's on the team and what the roles and responsibilities are of these different team members. Your resource calendars that you'll need in order to plan meetings and events to make sure that the people that you want to be there are available. Your project schedule, which you can use in order to schedule trainings and other events. Your lessons learned register that can give you information from previous phases of your project that will help you in developing your team. The enterprise environmental factors and organizational process assets are no surprise. Of course, you'll need to be aware of and make sure you're aligned with your HR's management policies regarding how you're going to hire and terminate employees, how you do performance reviews, how you develop employees, what recognitions and rewards are available, how you develop team members, as well as team member skills, competencies, and specialized knowledge, and the distribution of your team members within your organization. And of course, your historical information from previous projects found in your lessons learned repository. Now we move on to the tools and techniques of developing your team, starting with co-location, which can be a valuable tool that helps bring all of your team members together in one place, whether it's in the same room or in cubicles or offices right next to each other, so that you're all conveniently available to each other. This allows you not only to collaborate better, but allows for a lot more of those ad hoc impromptu hallway discussions that are so valuable in team development. Next, we have virtual teams, which can allow you to build teams that you wouldn't otherwise be able to build. Communication technologies, which can help you, especially with virtual teams. Tools like shared portals and your web-based conferencing, email, chat, and other specialized collaboration tools. Your interpersonal and team skills, of course, will come into play, especially conflict management and your skills at influencing and motivating people, negotiating for resources, and team building. Recognitions and rewards, training, individual and team assessments, which will need to follow your HR policies, as well as all sorts of meetings. Team building activities can be simple or elaborate. They can be as simple as bringing donuts or bagels or some kind of treat to your meeting, having a coffee break and getting to know each other over that coffee break, team lunches, having an organized game night, participating in activities such as March Madness or the World Cup, celebrating people's birthdays by having a monthly birthday celebration, organizing dinners and picnics with team members and their families, participating in charity events, and organizing holiday parties. You could even arrange for visits to local attractions, take the day off and go to an amusement park, or book an entire movie theater, especially for a new release that's popular. You could spend a day or afternoon with the team going paintballing or laser tagging or sailing. Organize workshops that present different kinds of puzzles or challenges or games that force people to work together. There's always the classic example of an obstacle course. You could also have workshops around personality assessments in which you learn about your own personalities and share that information with others and learn how different personalities can work best together. Even things like training and certification courses that your team can participate in. However, keep in mind that these team building activities will be limited in their effectiveness if you haven't first taken care of the hygiene factors, making sure that people have an adequate salary, that they have good working conditions, and a good relationship with their manager. Whatever the team building activities you choose, keep in mind that can be large or small, but they should involve some degree of social interaction, even if they're ad hoc or planned, and that they should focus on building relationships, trust, improving communication and collaboration, and ultimately on increasing performance of the team. Individual assessments can help you as you develop the team. Just keep in mind that these assessments are not meant to show people as better or worse, but just to understand people's differences. Personality assessments, such as the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, shows you different personalities and how they can be complementary. You can learn about different work preferences and communication styles and preferences, different ways in which people make decisions. Identify different people's strengths, interests, and aspirations, as well as different learning styles. Who learns better visually and who learns better by listening or hearing, or by reading or writing, or kinesthetically by doing. As you think about training needs and opportunities, remember that there are lots of different ways to address this. There's the traditional classroom training that can be on-site or off-site, but now they also have online courses that can be either virtual courses or self-paced courses. There are also the traditional conferences or workshops. Even university classes can be used for training. You should proactively look at mentoring, coaching, lunch and learn meetings. You could even set up guilds and participate in professional organizations. There's on-the-job training, cross-training, even letting people buy their own books or subscribe to different journals and periodicals that can provide training to people. Any kind of technical management or self-improvement, including personality assessments and training, emotional intelligence, and training in communications, especially crucial conversations. You'll need to be careful that your recognition and reward systems encourage the right sort of behavior and teamwork. W. Edwards Deming had some strong opinions about recognition and rewards. He said, "The idea of a merit rating is alluring. The sound of the words captivates the imagination. Pay for what you get what you pay for. Motivate people to do their best for their own good." The effect is exactly the opposite of what the words promise. Everyone propels himself forward, or tries to, for his own good, on his own life preserver. The organization is the loser. The merit rating rewards people that conform to the system. It does not reward attempts to improve the system. Don't rock the boat. This quote from Mr. Deming emphasizes the importance of making sure that your recognition and rewards aren't focused just on the individual, but on the team and the organization, and improving performance as a whole. Recognition and rewards work best when you align them with the organization and with the individual interests, abilities, needs, and goals, and especially helping individuals in their career development. However, make sure that you focus on team performance. Programs such as Employee of the Month do not necessarily encourage team performance and can actually undermine it. And you should be culturally sensitive, because in some cultures, individual recognition backfires. People are uncomfortable standing out and lose face or respect of their peers. Cultures that value community over individual need to be considered when you're coming up with recognition and rewards. Team performance assessments should evaluate the effectiveness of the team as a whole and identify specific steps for improving the team's performance, including any training or coaching that would be valuable, as well as identifying any impediments that should be removed to improve team effectiveness. Also, any specific resources you need for your improvement plans should be spelled out. The outputs of the developed team process are primarily your team performance assessments. You may also need to issue some change requests if you need to make any changes to baseline documents or your project management plan, as well as any updates to your team charter, assignments, calendars, schedule, and lessons learned register. You'll also need to update your organization's skill assessments and employee development plans, and you may also have some changes to training requirements and personnel assessments. To summarize the team development process, the inputs include your project team assignments, so you know who's on the team and what their roles are, resource calendars that show their availability, your project schedule, team charter, resource management plan, and other factors. Your outputs are your team performance assessments, as well as some change requests and other updates to other documents. Your main tools are co-location, virtual teams, communication technology, different interpersonal and team skills, especially conflict management, influencing, motivation, negotiation, and team building, the proper use of recognition and rewards, training, individual and team assessment, and meetings. And that's it for part 2. PM Ready is a publication of PM Guaranteed and is based on the Project Management Institute's PMBOK guide.